Welcome to Explore Classroom. My name is Gina Borgia. I work at the National Geographic Society here in Washington, D.C., and I will be your host today. At National Geographic, we believe that anyone can be an explorer and that you have the power to make a difference in the world, no matter how old you are. Explore Classroom is here to inspire you with stories from the field and to connect you with our National Geographic explorers live to answer your questions. So before we get into today's lesson, I'd like to welcome all of the classes who are joining us today, especially Ocean Township, Neil Cummins, PS 321 William Penn, Bel Air Park, Casimir Pulaski and Bandelier Elementary Schools, St. Clair, Millicoma and Kenny Lake Middle Schools, and Camiro Colbe, Ekolo, Okotoks Junior High School, and City Park School. We are so glad to have you all here. Today, our explorer is Christian Stenner. Christian is a citizen scientist who studies the caves that form when volcanoes and glaciers interact. Christian's work takes him into the field all around the world, from Mount Meager in British Columbia, Canada, and even to Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier here in the United States. He lives in Calgary, Alberta, and specializes in the exploration of these amazing and rare environments called glacio-volcanic caves, so that we can better understand what they tell us about the world. We are so excited that we have Christian here live to share more about his work and answer some questions from our audience. So welcome to Explore Classroom, Christian. Take it away.
Thanks, Gina. We're going to get this started, so I'm hoping to share with you some incredible images and video. We are going to enter the incredible world of fire and ice. We're going to hear about some amazing ice caves, the equipment used to explore them, and how they can be important to us all. There are incredible and otherworldly environments created when volcanoes and glaciers interact. And exploring them is helping us understand many different things about the volcanoes, the glaciers, and where life can exist. So when most people think about tall mountains, they know that there's lots that have snow on the top and glaciers and ice. They have permanent ice and snow like these ones. And much of this permanent ice is compacted snow, or it's what we know as a glacier. But when most people think about volcanoes, they think about fire and lava, and clouds of smoke, and the volcanoes erupting. But many volcanoes are quiet, like the ones you see here in these videos. Some are dormant, they're like they're sleeping. And they can be very tall and have the same snow and ice like other tall mountains. But some volcanoes are active, they're capable of erupting, and they might even be emitting heat and volcanic gas from deep within the earth. Hot steam comes out of the volcano and melts through the ice. So the volcanoes I'll talk about have a glacier on top of them, and they're active. They have heat and gas, which melts these amazing holes into the ice. These are very special caves, which only exist in a few places on Earth. We call these incredible and rare environments glacio-volcanic caves. So you can see the combination of words of glacier and volcano in that term. So we can see here these amazing entrances and steam coming out from underneath the earth. Getting inside them can be challenging, and you need special skills and equipment. Here you see rappelling using a rope to get down into one of these caves formed in a glacier by the volcano. But they're so incredible. You can see this floor made of volcanic rock, surrounded by walls of ice, glistening and dripping with water, and the ceiling made of ice as well. You can see those ridges in the ice called scallops. They're formed by air moving across the ice, and it creates these ridges and unique formations. Being inside one of these caves is like being on another planet. There are only a few places on Earth where these caves are known to exist and have been studied. It's partly because we need some important ingredients. We need an active volcano that's hot, but not too hot, and it could be emitting steam and gas like you see here. It needs to have a glacier, and it has to be at a high altitude that it has permanent ice. And the heat from the volcano has to be relatively stable. If it's too hot, all of the ice will melt and the cave would disappear. Alternately, if it's too cold, the caves would close shut and it would just be a normal glacier with no cave in it. So that's our introduction. Thanks, Gina. Let's turn it back over to you.
Fire and ice connect to form these glacial volcanic caves. But were you paying attention? Do you think you could name the 3 ingredients from nature that were needed to form a glacial volcanic cave? Students, we have a quick true and false poll to see if you were listening. So you'll see this pop up on your screen in a moment. The statement is, a glacial volcanic cave is formed by 1, an active volcano, 2, a glacier, and continuous heat from a volcano. Is that true? A, is that false? Or we're not really sure. So are those the 3 ingredients needed to create a glacio-volcanic cave? All right, I'm seeing some answers come in. About 60% are saying true, 29% are saying false. Okay, nobody's not sure though. All right, now we have 78% saying true, 20% false. So maybe some folks are changing their answers. All right, let's see if we've got anything coming in from YouTube. Do we think an active volcano, glacier, and continuous heat from a volcano are what's needed to form one of these incredible caves? All right, I think it's time to reveal the answer. All right, so the end of that poll, 80% of you were saying true, 20% of you were saying false. Great work. We are so excited to share that just about everyone had that correct answer. It was true. Those were the 3 ingredients of it's an active volcano, the glacier, and continuous heat from a volcano. All right, great job, everyone. Now let's continue our journey into the caves of fire and ice and learn about the gear that is essential for this type of exploration. I'm going to send it back over to you, Christian.
Thanks, Gina. Yeah, as you saw in the video, these are pretty incredible environments, and sometimes they need some special equipment in order to explore them safely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you some of those things that I use to explore these caves, and we'll talk a little bit about them. First off, we saw how much ice is there, and these are on very tall mountains. And to move comfortably on ice and not to slip and fall, sometimes we have special boots with crampons. These are boots that have crampons, these spikes that we use to walk on the ice, and so that we have enough grip and we don't slip and fall. So we walk on the ice using these, but as you can see, they're pretty sharp. And it's almost like walking when you have knives on your feet. It can be pretty crazy, and you have to be very careful. But it's super important in order to have traction on the ice. Likewise, because we're moving in icy environments, sometimes we need things like an ice axe. This ice axe is used to grip onto the ice. We can use it to hold our position and as a safety tool, also to climb vertical surfaces on ice. Sometimes these can be a little bit cumbersome when you're crawling around in the cave and you're crawling over rocks. They can get snagged on things. So they're more useful at the entrances of the cave or perhaps on the surface getting to the caves. Now, we talked a little bit about how these caves are formed by volcanic heat. But also, some of the heat that's coming out of the earth can have volcanic gas. Some of that gas, like things like hydrogen sulfide, can be dangerous to humans. So in order to go into some of these caves, we actually have to have a special breathing apparatus. We use a gas mask and an air supply in order to be able to breathe because the air isn't actually very safe. So here we have a special mask that I might use to explore deep into the volcanic environment. So you can maybe hear me breathing. And that's almost like something out of Star Wars. And so I won't keep wearing it because it might be hard to understand me for the rest of this talk. But there you get a pretty good idea of what it might be like to have that mask on. Last, one of the most important things is you can imagine if you're in a cave, it's going to be very dark. And so we have to have something to light up the environment. And so I have this helmet. This helmet has my sources of light. The helmet is super important because the helmet can protect your head from things falling on top of you, or if you were to fall and hit your head on some rocks or something. So it's important as a protection, but also it has the lights on it. And the lights are super important because light in a cave is like food and water. It is essential to your survival. If you don't have light, you can't see where you're going and you could fall or you could get hurt. So not only do we have a big light here right on the front, there we go. I'm lighting you all up. I'm shining a light on all of you. Hey, not only do I have that, you can even see a spare light right here. We go into a cave with 3 lights minimum, 3, because we want to make sure if the batteries run out or if one of the lights breaks, we always have extra lights so that we can always find our way back out of the cave to the surface.
This image on the left, it's a picture of a cave that Christian has explored. So based on the equipment that Christian just shared with us, what would you wear to be safe if you were exploring this environment? If you were in this glacial volcanic cave that's in this picture? So students, go ahead and share your answers aloud to your teacher, and teachers type in some of those answers into the chat bar here and also in YouTube. Once again, the question is, what equipment would you wear to be safe if you were exploring this cave? I'll give you all a moment to start sending in some answers in the chat. And I love it. Christian's already ready. He's already has his hat on. So that would be my vote for number 1. Okay, the Banda Bears are saying boots. Boots are very important. Bel Air 4th graders are saying that pickaxe would be important. And 3 flashlights. They were paying attention to multiple light sources. Great job. Mr. Alvarado's class, boots, helmets, backpack for emergencies. Yes, that is a great idea. Helmet with a light, that mask, flashlight, oxygen mask, the crampons, boots. All right, let's see what YouTube is saying. Gloves, the shoes with the clip-ons. Yes, we want to make sure our hands, our feet are protected. Cold weather gear. That's a great answer. It looks pretty cold in those caves. A first aid kit. Fabulous. Let's see if I can see any different. Okay, here's a good one on YouTube. Snacks. Snacks are very important, especially if you're going to be down in that cave for a little while, right, Christian?
Absolutely. You definitely need to keep your energy up, and having some snacks is going to help with that for sure.
I'll share a few more answers. I'm seeing knee pads. That's a really interesting answer. Water and a radio, right? How are you communicating with folks who are up on ground, who may be there waiting to hear your signal? These are such great answers. Such great answers, everyone. Let's see. Okay. All right. So we have that second picture to show you. Let's pop that up on the screen. And this is a picture of Christian and a colleague in that cave and look at all of this gear that they've got on. Christian, do you want to say anything about this particular image and what was going on that day?
Yeah, that's a great image to show a lot of the answers that all of the classrooms were able to provide. We have bags, we have layers of clothing, we have our ice climbing equipment, we have our mask, our helmet, all of our lights, and a bag to carry things. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. So you don't see some of the safety things like a first aid kit, but you know that we do have some of those things because they're very important too. And the snacks. The snacks are important as well. So yeah, great job, everybody, and thank you.
As the great job. You all were exactly right. Your answers were spot on. You were paying attention during that show and tell. So great job, everyone. And thank you for sharing your answers. Now let's journey even deeper into the caves of fire and ice and learn about the implications of exploring these caves. Christian, take it away again.
All right. So we are going to go a little bit deeper, as Gina said. Exploring helps us understand our natural world and has implications far beyond the places that we explore. By doing so, we can help make the world better for others around us. These places help us understand the volcanoes themselves and the glaciers that surround them. Places like Mount Rainier in Washington State in the United States, it is so huge that it has 28 glaciers on it. And you can see here it has 2 volcano craters at the summit, and it's all covered in ice. At Mount St. Helens, also in the United States, this volcano erupted, and it was the site of the largest volcanic disaster in the United States history. Now, in the huge crater left behind by the eruption, it's over 2 kilometers or almost 1.5 miles wide. There are glaciers growing inside it. You can see here inside the crater. Both of these volcanoes have people that live and work around them. And if the volcano gets more active, it could mean trouble. And both of these volcanoes have glaciovolcanic caves in their ice. If there are changes in the caves, such as if they grow larger or if they get smaller, it could be an indicator of volcanic activity and heat output. This image is one of the largest rooms we've ever found in a glaciovolcanic cave, and it's at the one at the summit of Mount Rainier in Washington State. But sometimes you have to tilt your head to the side and put your arms out in front of you to be able to fit in some of the tight spaces as you crawl over the volcanic rocks with a ceiling of ice this close to your head above you. So we can see some of the rooms can be large or they can be small, and we make maps of the caves as we explore. Here we can see a map of the cave passages of the cave at the Mount Rainier crater. This one is the largest known glaciovolcanic cave in the world, and it has all of those different tunnels that are all connected together, almost in the shape of the volcano crater itself. Here we see a scientist that's using a thermal camera. The camera senses heat, and so it creates a picture of areas that are hotter and colder than others. So in this image, the hottest areas are white and red, and the coldest areas are blue and black. And so using this camera, we can look for places that are hotter and colder in order to determine where we might take a sample of soil or of rocks or of ice. This scientist is using what almost looks like a laser gun. It's actually called a spectrometer, and it can scan things in the world and tell us what elements are present. So it can tell us more about the environment, the ice, the soils, and the rocks within the cave. We do these scans because we want to understand this environment. Because the caves are such a unique environment, they can have some amazing and rare life forms. Now, we're not talking about critters and things crawling into the caves. We're actually talking about microbial life, things like bacteria and other things that are too small for the human eye to see. So yes, microbial life has been found within these caves, and that's what you're seeing here on the Petri dish. These are cultures of bacteria that are being grown based on what was found from inside one of the caves. It's amazing to consider that these are places that have no light and very little nutrients for an organism to survive on. So how do they live? Some of them will actually grow by eating the volcanic rocks, or they'll eat the volcanic gas that comes out from underneath the earth. It's a very different pathway for life to exist compared to other places on Earth. And because of this, life from these caves is thought to be very similar to the kind of life we may find on other planets. Astrobiologists are a special kind of biologist that study life that could exist outside of Earth, and they study the formation of life itself. They have an interest in the kind of places that we have that are called analog environments. These are environments that are similar to environments that might exist on other planets. So the life we find in the caves help us to understand the life we may first find outside of Earth and where we should look. And because these environments are so otherworldly, they are being used for testing robots and space mission concepts that could be used to explore and look for life on other planets. Here we see the world's first ice climbing robot being tested in one of the caves in the crater of Mount St. Helens. It's important to have robots that can look in icy environments because some of the best places to look for life outside of Earth are actually worlds and moons in our solar system that are covered in ice. Robots and life detection devices that could be part of future missions, it's important to test them on Earth before we send them out to look for life elsewhere. So now you've seen some amazing ice caves that are hidden from most people. Most people will never see these images or be able to step foot in one of these caves. So you've had an incredibly unique opportunity by being here today. You've seen the equipment used to explore the caves, and now you've learned as well how these caves can be important to us all. Exploring them helps us to understand our world better, and you can see in this case how that can help us actually know more about our universe.
That was absolutely fascinating. There is just so much to learn about life in these caves. I wonder how many different experts it takes to understand everything. Like, what are the different roles involved in gathering data and finding answers? Let's take a look at all the different professions that collaborate to learn about glacial volcanic caves. We have a quick slide. So there's astrobiologists. They study life that could exist outside of Earth. Glaciologists, they study the glacier and volcano ice interactions. There's roboticists. They test robotic technologies that can move in extreme environments and terrains, like that one that we saw in that incredible image. And speleologists, they study caves, cave formation, and the movement of groundwater through the earth. So those are 4 incredible different professions that are all necessary and come together to study this environment. So students, now that you've heard just a little bit about these other professions, I have a quick question for you all. Which career sounds the most interesting to you? If you had to choose from this list of roboticists, speleologists, glaciologists, astrobiologists, what's most interesting to you? You can tell your teacher, and teachers, go ahead and type some of those answers into the chat. We'll give you all a moment to start getting in your answers. I think for me personally, if the question was for me, I would go with roboticist. That is super interesting to me. And that you said was that image was one of the first robots that was able to explore that terrain. That's pretty incredible. All right, let's see what we have in the chat. The dedicated achievers are saying glaciologist with a lot of exclamation marks. So they're very excited about that. Kenny Lake Hawks, they're saying astrobiologist. Fourth grade at NC is with me, roboticist. Let's see what else we have. Astrobiologist, lots of astrobiologists. These are great answers. Let's check in with YouTube. All right, the Academy in New Jersey is saying speleologist. Stacy is saying glaciologist. The Academy at New Jersey, again, roboticist. Okay, these are great answers. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your answers with us, students. We just like to see what everyone's most interested in out there. And thank you again, Christian, for bringing us into the caves with you today for an incredible look at your work. We had so much fun learning all about glacial volcanic caves. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, and thank you all for your participation and your great answers so far.
Yeah, and now it is the most exciting portion of the show, in my opinion. We're going to kick off the Q&A portion of the show. If you're watching online, you can send us your questions in the chat bar. We record them all as they're sent in, so you only need to send each question once. And teachers, students, please let us know who's asking the question so that we can give your class or your student a shout out. And if you are an on-screen guest here with me, get ready with a nice loud voice, and I will tell you when it is your turn. And I think we already have a lot of questions to go. I'm going to kick it off with a YouTube question. Let's see what we have here. Oliver would like to know, how and when did you realize that you wanted to explore caves?
That's a great question, because a lot of people who get into cave exploration were originally interested in the outdoors. They were hiking, they were rock climbing, or doing those sort of activities out in our world. And then they found, like me, that there was this incredible world right under our feet, which has, for the most part, never been explored by people before. There are so many caves out there in our world, or parts of caves, that have never been visited by humans. So we've mapped a lot of the surface of the earth, but we have yet to truly and fully explore the world underneath our feet. So that's really what got me interested. And that was many years ago. Great question.
Awesome. Let's take a YouTube question. Carter out there is wondering, do you have a favorite cave that you've been to, that you've explored?
Yeah, it's hard to narrow that down because there's lots of really amazing caves that I've been in. But some of the best ones are ones close to my home in Canada. And that could be one that's called Castleguard Cave, which is the longest cave in Canada. I would say that might be one of my favorites.
Wonderful. All right, let's go over to another on-screen class. Kenny Lake Hawks, you're up next. We'll unmute your microphone. Hi.
There we go. I wonder, how can you eat with your gas mask on?
Great job, buddy.
Great question. Yeah, the answer to that is you can't. That special mask, you can drink water actually with that mask, but you can't eat. So you would have to come out of the cave to where it's safe before you could actually eat.
Great question. Thank you. All right. We have some folks on YouTube who are wondering, and this seems to be a popular question. Susan in particular is the first person who asked, have you ever gotten stuck in one of your caves or in one of your expeditions down there?
Well, I mean, the short answer is yes, but not for long. I've been, perhaps stuck temporarily. If I was stuck for a long time, I probably wouldn't be here to be able to talk to you all. But yeah, I mean, when you're crawling into a tight space in a cave, or you're going to a place that's never been explored, sometimes you might get wedged in there temporarily. But I've always been able to kind of back out or extract myself, or sometimes your teammates will help you.
All right, we have a question from DJ on YouTube, and they are wondering, is there a chance that these types of caves will eventually disappear?
Yes, there is a chance they could disappear, especially as we find that glaciers around the world are disappearing at an alarming rate. Because of this, these glaciers that are on volcanoes are disappearing as well. And when they disappear, well, there's no ice to form a tunnel for the cave, so the caves would disappear too. So definitely there is a danger, just because of the changes in climate, but also it could happen because the volcano itself becomes hotter. So sometimes we could even see that the cave disappears or becomes larger, or all the ice melts completely because the volcano is becoming hotter itself. So there's a couple different ways that they can disappear, and it's definitely a concern.
Christian, we have another wonderful question from YouTube about cave exploration in general. Could you tell us maybe what it's like to explore a cave?
Yes, I can. And actually, we could even make this a little bit more interactive, but I'll need everybody's help to go along with me, to have a bit of a cave experience. Okay, so what I can do is, let's give you something to look at, which is kind of like a cave. All right. So yeah, this is what it's like in a cave when there isn't any light and it is complete darkness. So imagine that we're going to put ourselves into the cave. So first, I want everyone to make sure you're in a comfortable position. So everyone, just wherever you're sitting, just make sure you're relaxed, okay? Just get comfortable, take a moment to do that. Okay, now relax your body, okay? And close your eyes. Okay, now that everyone's eyes are closed, take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Okay, now keeping your eyes closed, listen to the sound of my voice. Imagine that you are inside one of these caves. It is very dark. Your headlight is the only source of light. It shines on the far wall and you can see the ice. It is white and it's shiny and it's smooth. It's glistening in your light. The ice reminds you of how cold it is. You now realize it's only about 3 degrees Celsius, or about 37 degrees Fahrenheit, the same temperature as a refrigerator. So you're a little bit cold, it's chilly, but the ice is melting around you ever so slightly, and it's dripping from the roof. It's dripping from the walls. You can hear the drips of water. They're dripping on top of you and you can see them dripping. And so not only is it cold, you're always just a little bit wet and damp from the moisture. So you turn your light away from the walls and towards the rocky floor. You see steam coming out of a crack in the floor, and the steam makes it hard for you to see much further. Your light can't see through the steam. It's like being in a cloud now, except this cloud is underneath a glacier in the crater of an active volcano. Okay, now students, everyone slowly open your eyes. All right, I have a quick question for you. How did that exercise make you feel? Let's share some of the emotions that you experienced in the chat.
Wow, thank you so much for leading us through that exercise. I'm interested to see what some of the students have to say. Let's see, 3 and 1 is saying it made them feel calm, tired. You have a very relaxing voice. 4th grade at NC said calm, a little scared, some a little nervous. We have some folks imagining being cold and wet and peaceful. Absolutely. All right, let's say Kathleen on YouTube is saying it made them feel relaxed. Made a few folks feel terrified. Peaceful, calm, both calm and then a little scared. Nervous and scared. Yeah, thank you all for sharing how it made you all feel. Christian, what are some of the things that you feel when you're exploring?
I would say I agree with every answer. Yeah, definitely. It can be cold. It can be scary. It can be calm. It can be peaceful. It can be amazing and totally rewarding. And so it can be all of those things all at the same time. It's truly an amazing experience.
Thank you for walking us through that, because I feel like we've all now had a tiny touch of what that experience might be like. So thank you so much. We have Jackson on YouTube wondering, what was the last cave that you were in?
Yeah, that's a good question because it was actually about 2 weeks ago. I was in a cave for the last time. That was the most recent cave. That cave is named Bizarro Anima, and it's the deepest cave in all of Canada. It's actually the deepest cave north of Mexico. And we were in that cave for over 7 days. We went in the cave on a Saturday and we came out the next Saturday. So we were living underground for over a week in order to explore.
Wow. Okay. So many questions. Just follow that up. How do you sleep? Do you pitch tents in such a small space, or do you have sleeping bags? Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there's no flat place to sleep in that cave. The floor is covered in blocky boulders, kind of like the same ones in the images we've shown you today. So you can imagine it's hard to sleep on the floor. So we use hammocks. We actually will sleep suspended from the floor. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That is so interesting. That's so interesting. All right, this is sort of related, and I think we have to ask because YouTube is also wondering, where do you go to the bathroom when you are in these caves?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it comes up a lot, so it's not embarrassing at all. When you go to the bathroom in a cave like this is a very pristine environment. So everything that you bring into the cave has to come out. Otherwise, you're polluting the environment. So that means all of our garbage and all of our waste has to come out of the cave as well.
Great answer. Let's go one more question from YouTube. And then folks, unfortunately, we are running out of time. This is such an interesting topic. We have a question from Kennedy, and they are wondering, what is the smallest cave that you've been able to squeeze into? Or if there's a story about the smallest space that you've actually gotten into. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've squeezed myself into spaces that were so tight that I had to take my helmet off because this was too wide to fit into the space. But I don't actually like those kind of spaces. They can be scary, so I try not to have to go into a place that's that tight if I can avoid it. But there are places that are that tight that I have fit into. But sometimes you actually literally have to take gear off because it's actually too big for some of the things that you're wearing.
Wow, you are way braver than I am when it comes to small spaces. But thank you so much for sharing that. So Christian, we'll ask the final question of the day, which is, what message do you want to leave with the next generation of explorers who are watching out there? What would you like to tell them?
Well, I think I would like to say that we've talked about how important exploration is and how explorers add to our knowledge of the world. Explorers, by adding knowledge, they help make the world a little bit of a better place through that knowledge. But you don't have to go into a volcano to add to our knowledge of the world or to make the world better for others. Everybody can contribute. And so by excelling in whatever you choose to do in your life, whether you're being an artist or you're a writer or you get involved in business or you're a scientist or you're an explorer, everyone has the capability to make the world better for others. It's really just up to you on how you do that.
Well, that is a wonderful message. Thank you so much, Christian, for being here with us, taking us into the caves, quite literally, and sharing all your amazing work with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gina. It's been great to be here with you today.
Thank you. And thank you, students, for all of your thoughtful, amazing questions. And thank you, teachers, for making the time to bring your students to events like this one. It has been such an exciting Explorer Classroom season thus far, but we are not done. We have much more to look forward to. So go and register at natgeoed.org/Explorer Classroom. When you register, you can request a chance to be featured on screen with us. Join us next month for our all-new wildlife series, where your students will learn about wildlife globally while taking action locally. So next week, we're going to kick things off with explorer Christine Wilkinson to explore how carnivores like hyenas and coyotes share the landscape with people. So to learn more about the new wildlife series and how to sign up, you can visit our blog, which I am putting a link in the chat, and there's going to be a link in the chat out there on YouTube as well. Check it out. There's still some time to sign up. And that is our show today. I hope everyone has a great day. Stay curious and keep exploring. We'll see you next time on Explorer Classroom. Take care.